do $500,000 to $750K a year just off of email, and one email a month and a one ringless voicemail a month with like this month's special.
First off, I was fucking broke. So I had a 5-month-old baby. I was living in a room in a house. I was driving a freaking 92 Honda Accord with the freaking window didn't roll up.
That's the power of growing a brand that I think a lot of small business owners don't understand, is that it's not do it one time. It's that reactivation, like you're talking about. Can make sure you're staying engaged with it.
We started the business at the end of 2018. By the time I got there, we'd already done over $5 million that first year. It was a mess. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing.
I always thought like that company culture is like, yeah, that's that fluffy bullshit that just eats up the bottom line. But that was, as Zig Ziglar calls it, stinking thinking, right?
There's no point to spend money on marketing unless you train your staff.
If you think you're going to win in business, man, and still write paper invoices, like, you're in trouble, because there's other people coming to take your lunch.
I mean, I made, almost like $250,000 my first 9 months.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Coach Carroll. Welcome to another episode of the Sales Factory. I'm excited to sit down today with Victor Rancour, the visionary behind Profit Rocket and a proven leader in the home service industry. Victor's journey began actually as an HVAC technician. And so where he quickly rose to become a nationally recognized top salesperson, he went on to found Absolute Air, growing it to one of the fastest rising HVAC companies in the U.S. with over $50 million in revenue in just 4 years. And after leading Absolute Air to a successful exit, Victor launched Profit Rocket, a platform empowering home service entrepreneurs to scale with automation, sales mastery, and high-performance culture. You guys know I love culture. Victor is a celebrated mentor, investor, and builder of growth-focused teams. Victor, welcome to the Sales Factory, man.
Hey, DJ, I'm excited to be on, man, and obviously, share my journey and hopefully, inspire some people. That's kind of why I do these podcasts, and hopefully someone out there might be going through some stuff, and I can, kind of motivate them to get through it.
I love it, man. Exactly. That's exactly why I have the podcast, why I ask, successful guys to come on and kind of speak their truth. And I'm super excited to have you on today. You and I met, I want to say it was like 2019, maybe, at Judge Graham and Matt Monero's Attack and Conquer boot camp. Still sad that they don't do that thing, man. That would be an annual event for me to go to. That was so very powerful and transformational. And sounds like you just been rocketing since then. And so catch us up, man. Like you exit the company, you start Profit Rocket. Like what's on the table for you? Where are you seeing yourself going in like the next 3 years? Kind of cast that vision for the listeners.
No, definitely. And I definitely would double down on that. That was actually the first business coaching event I ever went to, and
Really?
yeah. So like, people are like, obviously I tell my story a lot, but I had an entrepreneurial seizure in 2018. Like I was a salesman, I thought I knew what to do. I was like, my boss is making all this money. I'm going to start my own business. I had no idea what I was doing. And by the time I got to Judge Graham's thing at the end of 2019, and we were already, we started the business at the end of 2018. By the time I got there, we'd already done over $5 million that first year. And it was a mess. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. We had a lot of revenue coming in, but obviously like, I had no systems, no processes, things like that. At that point, I think after that event, it kind of, opened my eyes to some of the stuff that I needed to put in place that I didn't realize. So, definitely love that event. Still really good friends with Judge. Talk to him very often. But yeah, I mean, obviously, since I exited in Absolute, it's crazy. It's already been 2 years now. So in June of 2023, and since then I put a lot of focus on a couple different things. Obviously, Profit Rocket has been we started that in 2022. As a consulting firm, and we started mostly as a sales training organization, and because that's my background. And then from there we got into the operational side and realized kind of like the gap there was. And we built our business blueprint. So we've been working on that for since actually for 5 years we've been working on that. So that's been really, really nice, and we've been able to help a lot of companies. And on top of that, I founded the Rocket Group about 11 months ago, and we've grown that to 6 different companies in our platform. We're in 6 different markets nationwide, and that's growing. That's been kind of where my focus has been, is trying to grow that. We have a pretty big goal of having 20 companies under our umbrella by next year. So,
wow. And is that just going to be like a roll up play? Get 20 companies in, and then find a mid market PE?
possibly we kind of run it a little bit differently than everybody else. So we run them all as separate companies. So we partner with companies that are in the 1.5, 2.5 million range, and we help them scale. Right.
Okay.
We have one that we're looking to exit probably here in the next couple months. I partnered with them in May of last year. They're a $2.5 million business, and they're trailing 12, and we're pacing right now for 18 million. So,
Wow.
very quickly we grow these companies, and we really just putting the system, the process in place, the training, obviously buying power, all those things that allow us to scale, and marketing. Obviously marketing is key to anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're looking to exit that business in Arizona, hopefully in the next 3 to 4 months. So we're pretty excited about that.
Very cool, man. I want to touch on something you said. Marketing, is like super important. Like, what are the like must-haves? Or like, you guys are going to a new market, you're working with somebody, you come in. Like, what are the first things that you may be fixing their marketing processes, or like maybe you're like, shit, you're not doing any marketing. There's the problem, because that's a lot of small businesses, right? They just,
Uh,
I say the biggest challenge small business owners have is like not enough people know who they are and what they sell.
Yeah, a lot of everybody just thinks being the best HVAC guy is going to get you work, right? And maybe
Right?
or they think being booked out a month and not having to market and getting word of mouth like that, they think that's good enough, and that's fine for some people if you want to live a lifestyle business, right? So
Yeah.
I would say most of the companies we partner with do little to no marketing when we come in. First thing we always do is really start attacking their current customers, like as far as like reactivating them, right? So a lot of people
Yep.
they think they're their customers, but they haven't seen them in years.
Yeah.
So we usually implement the first thing we implement is I own a software company called RP1. We implement that, and we're gonna turn those customers, those people that have done business in the past, turn them into new customers again, get back in front of them. And then the next thing obviously is the training. Make sure your staff trained. Like I always say, there's no point to spend money on marketing unless you train your staff. Because you're just going to throw your money. You're going to be pissed off. You're not answering the phones the right way. You're not running the call the right way. You're not converting high enough, and all of a sudden you're just burning money. So we got to definitely train them, and then obviously Google's king. You got to make sure you're showing up where you need to show up, right? And getting all
Yeah.
that stuff really dialed in, and making sure that you're ranking on Google. SEO is always going to be important. And then we're really big on direct mail. Uh, you know, we
Interesting.
we've done millions and millions of dollars in the last like 9 months just in that Arizona location. We implemented direct mail in like October, and we've done like probably 4 million off of it in the last 9 months. We
Wow.
have a really good direct mail piece that we just crush it with. So we do really well with that. And then obviously, any other platform, right? Most people are on social media. So we obviously social media is obviously going to be something you want to have a presence on. And
Yeah.
then we do a lot of we focus heavily on organic social as well. So growing that, making sure that we have following on that stuff. But yeah, I mean, obviously you have to be omni-channel with marketing, but the first thing we always do is like, hey, how do we reactivate the customers we have? How do we turn them into paying customers again, whether they haven't seen us in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And then from there, we really dial in the Google and direct mail stuff.
Yeah, I love that, man. I've got Easy Pros, my power washing business that I've owned since I was in high school, basically. When I transitioned out of lawn care business, I went into power washing and window cleaning. We've got over 8,000 customers now across like 4 different markets. That is a lifestyle business for me. Like I got one guy, we sub everything out, and like it's just its thing. It's actually my guinea pig for Carroll Media. Like I come up with new ideas and I go and inject it in that business, and it's like, oh, it killed it. All right, let's not take that to our customer base. But it amazes me that like we do a half a million to 750K a year just off of email, and one email a month and a one ringless voicemail a month with like this month's special. And that's it. And it's like that's the power of growing a brand that I think a lot of small business owners don't understand, is that it's not do it one time. It's that reactivation, like you're talking about. Can make sure you're staying engaged with them, because what happens is if you're not staying in front of them, if you're not staying engaged with them, guess what? Victor's direct mail piece comes in the mail, and then they go, I'm calling this guy. That's actually pretty catchy, right? And then it's like, oh no, you were my customer 4 years ago, don't you remember? And it's like, nope,
Yeah.
now you're Victor's customer.
Yeah, and people don't understand that, and they obviously, we've dealt with a lot of backlash just because like we're the company we have in Arizona. It's a super small market, and we're the biggest company in the market now, right? And
Wow.
within a short period of time, and it's kind of like crazy how many people are like, oh, you guys are stealing our I'm like, they're not stealing your clients. We're marketing to them, or we're getting back in front of them. Where a lot of these guys are just lazy, and they just think people are just going to call them. Just like I would say, if my AC broke, I wouldn't know who to call, right? Like if I moved into a house, I don't know who installed the thing. No one's gonna go look. No one really looks at the stickers on the unit. Half the time, companies don't put those on there either.
Right.
And then you go to Google, and if you're not in the top three on Google, they're not gonna remember you. They just
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah.
And that's really the fact. So like obviously you got to constantly stay in front of people to get the leads coming in. But you also have to be strategic, right? Like we're really strong on our KPIs and like where we want to be. Like we will not spend more than 6% of our budget on marketing, but we have to
Okay.
be really strategic with it, right? And a
And when
lot
you
of
say that,
companies,
that's like 6% of gross revenue.
6% of gross revenue is what we put.
Okay.
Our KPI is between 5 and 7, so we'll say
Yeah.
6. Ideally, I want to be below. I want to be at the 5 if I can be. Obviously,
All
every
right.
1 point to the bottom line is always good, but
Yeah.
as long as you're strategic with it, you answer the phone. Like our booking rate, consistently is over 95% of the calls coming in. So, a lot of these companies that I partnered with, I come in, their booking rate's 65, 75%, and it's like, well, there's 20% more customers just right away just by answering the phone the right way.
Not
Right. And
crazy.
then obviously having a dialed in process. So every one of our locations, we run the same exact process pretty much every day. And we train on it constantly. A lot of companies, they train once a month, twice a month. We're consistently training even busy season 4 to 5 days a week.
Wow. And
And,
what's that
and
look like when you say that, right? Because like I know a lot of people. One of my favorite sayings from Brad Lee is that training something you do, not something you did. And so, like, what's that look like? Are these like standing meetings or these huddles? Like, how are you able to train that often with a team that is in the blue collar space, especially? It's kind of like, hey, get in here, get in your truck, get the fuck out, let's go make some money, right? Like, how's that work?
So for us, we strategically train. So we have a training schedule for the whole month. So we build it out
Wow.
every month what we're going to be training on, so they know what they're going to come in on. And then one most companies I find when they come in for training, all it is a beat up session. They don't really train on anything. So what we try to do is we focus on our KPIs. What are we struggling at? Sometimes we'll pivot. Like if we're low on club membership sales, we're gonna have a club membership training that week, right? If we're low on water heater sales or whatever it might be, because I found that like whatever you train on that day, magically they sell it, right? Like if the financing guy comes in and he talks about financing that day, almost every job gets financed.
Wow.
And so, that's really what we focus on. Like, hey, where do we want to move the needle right now, or what's dropping? What are these guys, giving up on or not doing the right way? And then
Love that.
just making sure that we stay on our my process is very strict. Like, my background was as a tech and a sales rep. I created a process that I did every time, and I really just hammer these guys home to like understand that consistency is key, right? If you're, if I go to freaking McDonald's and I order a burger, it's going to be the same. Doesn't matter if I'm in California or Canada or China, wherever it is, it's going to be the same, right?
Yep.
And just getting them to understand that every customer deserves the same level of service, right? And so, we go in there, we train the guys, they know the process, and they make a lot of money. I mean, I have guys that are pacing. I have one guy that's pacing for like 900,000 this month or this year in personal
Wow.
income as a
Wow.
technician, right? So it's like these guys know
As a
that if they
technician?
as a technician, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
he's
cool.
he's a selling technician, but yeah, so he runs our older units, things like that, but he follows the process every day. And so we really kind of hold each other accountable throughout the business. And like, hey, dude, you're dropping the ball because it makes everybody look bad. You can't grow the business the right way if one guy does this, the next guy does this, the next guy does this. It has to be this consistently. Because at the end of the day, if I give recommendations to a customer and then the next guy comes in and tells them totally different things, what's going to happen, right? They're going to think we're
Yeah.
lying to them or that we're doing something shady or whatever it is. So we just got to make sure we're consistent across the board. Everybody's doing it the same way. They expect it when we go out there. So,
Yeah.
and then also we're really big on how much time we spend on calls. I think one of the things that come into companies all the time, their average time on a call is 30 to 45 minutes. Well, statistically, so I work with a company called Rilla. Do you know Rilla?
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah.
In the home, they AI, like they translate the entire call through AI, right? And we work with them, and they actually ran a national statistic. It said that the highest average ticket and highest closing percentage happens at the 2 hour mark. So if you're spending less than 2 hours there, the statistics say the numbers go down. The average ticket and the closing percentage actually go down. So we really focus on making sure our guys aren't rushing. We're not giving them 7 calls a day. They're getting 4 calls a day max, right? And really telling
Wow.
them to take their time, go through it, educate the customer. So a lot of the stuff we're training on is just the little details on a call that are going to make the difference.
Wow. That's wild. So let's go all the way back to when Victor was at Service Tech. What's like a memorable lesson that you can remember from the years that you were in the field?
Um, it's been a while, but obviously I started in 2015. I literally had no idea what HVAC stood for. I didn't know what I was going to. I just knew that they were going to give me a van. They were going to pay me. I was going to make at least 60 grand a year is what the ad said on Craigslist. So
Oh, good. R.I.P. Craigslist.
yeah, yeah. So I went to this interview, and I still remember the day they showed me how much money you can make, and keep in mind, 2 years before that, I was living in Cleveland, Ohio, making $6 an hour doing oil changes, right? Like I wasn't something I've been doing my whole life. It was so like, but even when I was at that oil change place, I turned that one into the number one store in the entire company. I had like 35 of them. And they were like one of the worst ones when I got there because I went in and I created a process because the only way to get out of the oil pit is to sell. So I had to create a process that I can sell so I didn't have to go down to the pit every day. I hated it.
Mhm.
So I think that's one thing that I've always been strong on is putting processes in place. So when I started as a technician, first off, I was fucking broke. So I had a 5-month-old baby. I was living in a room in a house. I was driving a freaking 92 Honda Accord with the freaking window didn't roll up. So I mean, I still remember going to the interview with rain splattering in my face on the drive there. But so I really came from nothing, but I was like, look, I'm gonna go all in on this thing. And once they, like I said, they showed me how much money I can make. I was like, dude, if I can make that much money doing this, I'm all in. So I think that the big thing I saw is that nobody, when I got there, nobody was consistently doing things. And I was like, okay, well, they showed us a process, but like no one would do it. So like I would go do ride-alongs with the best people. We had guys in that business that, in 2015 they were making six, 700,000 a year. And I was like, I want to go ride with those guys. So every day I had off, I would go ride with them. And
Mm.
I just remember like just trying to take bits and pieces. And I think that's one thing that I've been good at. And I try to teach my guys, like when you go into a meeting or a training or whatever it is, you don't have to retain everything. You take bits and pieces from everybody and you try to make your own process. So I remember pretty quickly, I think 3 months in, I was like, okay, this is the process I'm going to run. And I wrote it out, and then I consistently just went over it. I would put a checklist in place in my truck of things that I would not lose, like my non-negotiables when I left the call of things that I was going to do. So if I mean, I remember one call I went to the house and I went through everything. They didn't buy anything. I was all pissed off. I got back to my car and I was like, oh, I didn't do this. I went back and knocked on the door, did it, and I ended up selling something. And it was just kind of one of those things that I really wanted to build consistency, and I think that's what was kind of the key to my success is that I just built a process. Like if you went to my call 30 minutes in, almost every single call, I was going to be in the same spot. Like it was just like, and it just produced money, right? Like, and I try to
Yeah.
teach my guys is like, dude, like if you want to have a predictable outcome, you have to have a predictable process. And
Ooh, I
they're
like
like,
that.
well, the customer wants me to go this way or that way. It's like your process should be your like navigational beacon, and then like you're gonna get off, but you always have to come back to the center and where your process is. So I think that's what's been really the key to the success to almost every one of my companies is that we just constantly train. We're constantly making sure they know what to do. We're not just like kind of like cookie cutter training. We go all the way down to like the psychology behind why we're asking things when we ask it. And I think that's really been our kind of our difference maker.
Wow. Yeah, man. I can just think. I can only imagine. My son's a month old. My daughter's 2. Like having a 5-month-old baby, making $6 an hour, like, and a vehicle. Like,
Dude, it was
shoo.
it was
Talk
it
about
was
back against the wall, man.
it was pretty brutal. And like I said, like I just said I got to figure this out. And like I said, I was very successful. I mean, I made almost like 250,000 my first 9 months. And like I was like in the business that I was in, and I think that's really the key to my success is I got an opportunity to work at the best company in the country. They did the best training, they had the best processes, they had the best marketing. I mean, I think they're about a $2 billion a year business now. They're massive.
Shit.
So I just really got to see the ins and outs of a great company. And then, one of the things that,
That helps.
happened yeah. And I was about 3 years into working there. And I thought I was never going to leave, to be honest. Like I made so much money. I was like, there's no reason to leave, but I kind of plateaued. Like I got to the point where I was the new sales guy, but no matter what I did, they were like, you're not going to go. These guys have been here, right? They just wouldn't let us. And I was like, okay, well, if you're not going to let me progress, like I can't do it. So I remember I got recruited by another local company. Local companies, the guy takes me to breakfast, and then he's like, "Hey, let's go check out our shop and all this stuff." And I look at the business, and it all looks the same, right? Everybody's got white uniforms on. They got a nice building. The other company has a nice building. So I'm like, okay, there's no big difference. And then the guy paid me a lot of money, so he actually I was about to leave the building, and I was in my truck. He's like, "Hey, let me know when you're ready." And I was like, "Well, you never made me an offer." And he's like, "Well, how about this?" He's like, tell your wife, get the kids. I'm gonna fly you guys out to my house and out to Hawaii. We'll put you up, come hang out with me for a week, and we'll talk about it." And I was like, "I never been to Hawaii." I was like, "I'm down." So we ended up he ended up putting us first class to Hawaii, put us in like a presidential suite, gave me his Range Rover to drive, and I'm like, "Dude, what the hell?" And
That's wild. That's a hell of
yeah,
a
man.
that's a hell of a recruiting tactic right there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously, and it was a smart move because I ended up leaving, and when I went in there, I went from just being a sales guy, and the company I worked at, they were very, very good at separating departments.
Mm,
If you're a tech, you never do anything besides for tech. If you're sales, like you didn't know install, they didn't want to let you know operations because they want you to focus on what you're good at, but they also want to make sure you're not able to leave them, right? Like they didn't want you to
yeah.
leave. And so when I went to this new company, all of a sudden I'm the service manager, the sales manager, kind of the general manager because he was coming to me for everything, and then I'm out in the field selling every day. So like I was all of a sudden had to wear all these hats, but then I also got to see, okay, companies are different. What makes them different? And it's the operations and processes. So I went from this company that had every dialed in process to this company that was like the wild wild west.
Wow.
And so like I realized really quickly, I was like, man, like I can start, I can do this. I can run a business like this, like easy. And the guy was living in Hawaii, so like he was never there. So I'm like, okay. So I was there for like only for like 9 months before I started Absolute. And so I definitely had a little bit of advantage just working in a big company, kind of seeing all the things that they had in place. When I did start my business, I wanted to have all those things in place, but I realized how expensive they are to do. So like, you
Yeah.
want to have and the other thing is like I knew right away when I started my business, like you have to build a business that A players will come to.
Ooh,
And I think that was
that's
one
a
of
good one.
the key differentiators for me to everybody else. Like, how did you grow so fast? Like, how did you do 5 million your first year? And I'm like, well, I said, okay, what would it take for me to come work here? And then I really built the business around being able to attract A players. Like I was a small company, I can't afford health insurance, but I said I got to have it because I can't get an A player without health insurance. I got to have wrap trucks. I got to have uniforms. I got to have an office. Like we worked out of a parking lot for like the first 3 months. Like we meet at my buddy's pizza shop parking lot. We had a box truck, and that's where we worked out of for the first couple months. But yeah, really quickly, I was like, hey, I got to have all these things in place. And all of a sudden I got those in place. And all of a sudden the A players like, hey, look, I want to come there now. Like and obviously we had a lot of fun and all that stuff. So there's a 30-year-old idiot running the business, but definitely wild times. But yeah, I think that was really the thing that really grew our business is really understanding what it's going to take to get talent. And I, and
Yeah.
I think that's the one thing I'm really good at is recruiting talent.
That's cool, man. Yeah, seeing both sides of the coin, how the best in the business runs and how maybe the not so best in the business runs. And you hear this from all guys. I was on Tommy Mello's podcast last fall, and like that dude drives home systems and processes, right? And I know Ish, you guys are familiar with him with Next Gen, like that guy drives process, and it's not a like oh well these guys have some secret sauce and processes. It's like, no, if you find businesses that are doing millions of dollars a year that run like a well-oiled machine, it's they all operate the same way. They all have that culture that attracts those A players. They have the systems and processes that make it repeatable. So, and I like what you said. You can't have a dependable outcome without a dependable process. That is super super true. Let me ask you this, because I know this is like being in blue collar space for years and years and years and years and still kind of somewhat being in it. One of the biggest frustrations is like, cool, I got my systems, I got my processes, I got my company culture. And then there's this human that still doesn't fucking do the systems and the processes. You talk about recruiting talent. Does that go away with A players, or do you still struggle with that with A players? And how do you overcome it, Victor?
They you will, right? And a lot of times you bring in they have habits and they have things they do a certain way, and it's just really, I don't expect it overnight. But I sell them on the why, right? Like nobody cares until they know what's in it for them, right? And I said, look, you're great. Like you can sell 3 million a year, but do you want to sell six? Right. And they're sometimes they'll be stubborn. And I said, look, you're going to consistently do this, what you're doing now, and that's fine. That's a good amount of money. But I was like, I would be pissed off, right, DJ, if I went to work every day and somebody else is doing the same job as me and making double the money just because he decided to follow a process, that would piss me off, right? And I think a lot of it does, like they know me, so they know that like they know my success. So like a lot of them, they're attracted to come. They want to be just around me because they want to do what I did, right? And I said, look, I said you can do. You're just at right now. You're average, right? And I said, look, I can make you great, but if you can't follow the little things, you're never going to be great. Like the best in the business are always training, always getting better, always trying to find new ways. So it takes a little bit of time, but like I said, that's what the training comes down to. And I think once they finally see it and they're like, dude, it works, right? Like they're like they kind of they'll kind of fall in line, but it does take time. But you also have to have a culture of like people expect it. Like I tell my guys like, dude, like if someone's not doing things the right way, they're doing something wrong to the company. What's going to happen to the company? Like all of a sudden, this is where you go to work every day to make your money, take care of your family, and somebody's going to come fuck it up. Like we don't
Now
lie,
it's in
steal, and
jeopardy.
we don't lie, steal, and cheat, and we do the things the right way because at the end of the day, if you do the right thing on that first call, right, and maybe they don't buy today, and the next guy comes in, he does the same thing, does it the right way, they might not buy today, and then the third call, all of a sudden they buy because they're like, look, you guys have been great. Like before, we love your company, they trust you, right? Well, if one guy does a great job, the next guy does a shitty job, that person's never going to want to do business with us again, right? And it's like I always say it's like putting money in the bank. Even if you don't sell something, if you do the right things, you do it the right way, it's putting money in the bank for you because you're going to pick up somebody else's money in the business that didn't maybe not get it last time. So I
Mm.
think we just really preach on just doing things the right way and doing the right things, and that's why every company we have is a 5-star business. Like, and we're growing by hundreds of reviews a month because we just do things the
Wow.
right way, and people are like, this is different. Like, we don't want to be like everybody else in the market, and we because we're better, we expect to get paid more. So we're every company we have, we're pretty much the high most expensive in every market we're in, and people are willing to pay $10,000-15,000 more to go with us over other people because
Wow.
it's pretty. Like, just yesterday we had a guy, we were at 26,000, the other company was at 13, and we won the job, right?
How?
And
How can you be that much high? I mean, that's what is it, 26 to 30, 13? That's like double the price.
yeah, and it's they didn't trust the other guy because he was kind of in there really fast. He didn't go through anything, didn't explain him to properly, didn't have the right conversations. And it's
Mm,
just like you have to paint a picture of like, yeah, like you can make a $13,000 gamble, or you can have something that's going to be a sure thing, a company that's going to be around 10 years from now when you need them. I mean, statistically, the SBA says that 95% of home service companies fail within the first 5 years and 98% in the first 10. So you have a 2% chance they're going to be around in 10 years, right? And
mm,
the number one reason they're not around is because they didn't charge enough money up front. So they didn't enough money up front to cover long-term liability. So the first couple of years, it's great. You don't charge that much. You don't have that many issues. And all of a sudden, year 5, 6, you have all these warranties and all these problems, and you don't have enough money to fix it. Then you just close up shop. And then how good are your warranties, anyways?
right.
Right. And it's just really painting the picture, and like, understanding our warranties and guarantees. Like, we have some pretty good stuff in place. Like, we have our no limit guarantee, like, which is a lot of people like, if the compressor or the heat exchanger fail in the first 10 years, we just give you a brand new one. So we just put a lot of stuff in place, better warranties, better guarantees. And then obviously my technicians actually sound professional. Half the time the guys that go in your house were selling windows and doors last week. They haven't been trained properly. And then they're all they do is they give you a price and they lower the pants that you buy. And we go in and say, look, we know exactly what we have to charge to run a 5-star business and be here 10 years from now when you need us. And maybe we're not the company for you. But at the end of the day, the reason most people choose us, DJ, is because of X, Y, and Z, right? And my guys have the word tracks down and all this stuff down. And when they're looking, they got eye contact with you and you're confident. And the other guy's kind of staring at the fucking floor, giving you a price. Who are you going to go with, right?
Yeah. I think that's closing with conviction's a big thing, man. And we, in the cleaning industry, we call it, Bucket Bob and Two Tooth Tony. A lot of times just showing up with a clean polo is enough. It's like, man, you didn't smell like beer when you showed up in the house. When
Well,
you're
it's the little things. I mean, like, the other thing that a lot of owners fail at is giving their guys the tools they need to succeed, right? Like, every little detail matters. So, like, how my guys pull up the truck wraps, what their uniforms look like. I buy my guys new boots every 6 months. I give them a brand new pair of boots. They have to wear the right pants, the shirts. If their shirts are messed up, they're getting new shirts. Their trucks have to be clean. So when they come in for meetings in the morning, we do a truck inspection every day to make sure the trucks are
every
clean.
day, wow,
Every
okay.
day. I
You
don't fuck around.
what I'm hearing here though is like this word that I've become obsessed with lately is standards, right? It's like at what level do you set your standards, and most importantly, at what level do those standards consistently, which is the key part, get held at, right? So what you're saying is like, yeah, if it's in the handbook or it's in the training during the onboarding, is like, hey, you're expected to keep your truck clean. Okay, that's setting the standard one time and then there's no checks. Versus a consistent standard is, hey, you're expected to keep your truck clean, and I'm gonna check the motherfucker every morning. Like, that's a
Yeah.
different level, right?
Well, it's like you can play for the Yankees or the Oakland A's, dude. At the end of the day, we're the Yankees, and when we show up, we look like the Yankees. We don't have some beat up uniforms. You don't have a shitty freaking facility that we work out of. Like, we show up with the best. We get paid the best, right?
Mm,
And there's a differentiator that's a look. If you want to play for the A's, the door's open. You guys can leave. But my guys make double the average, probably some of them triple the average industry average as far as income. I mean, my installers are making
wow.
150,000 a year, so it's like
Yeah.
we pay the best and we expect the best, and we kind of have to set that standard. And I think my guys understand it. And obviously you have to coach them into it, right? And it's not easy. Some days you're gonna have guys bitching and complaining, and
Yeah.
you just have to have that conversation and say, look, when we sat down and we talked to you, we set out what your expectations are, and these are our core values. This is how we operate, and then this is what we stand behind.
Yep.
And like I said, my guy, we lead everything back to the core values, just like you learned at burn the
Yeah.
ships, right? Like, you have
Absolutely.
everything. It's not me saying this. This is our core value. This is how we operate here.
Yeah.
And the guys
That was probably
understand
one of
it.
the biggest things that I took away from Judge and Matt's thing because I didn't have core values when I went to the training. Right, it was like I always thought like that company culture is like, yeah, that's that fluffy bullshit that just eats up the bottom line. But that was, as Zig Ziglar calls it, stinking thinking, right? And like
Yeah.
understanding like Matt and Judge teaching, like, no, it's not just words that are on the wall. Sure, put them on the wall, but that's what you hire, fire, and manage by. And like, dude, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah, and we even still do the 9/11 meetings. So like we do our
Oh, okay.
office and our internal meetings. We run a 9/11 meeting every single day, and
Yep.
we go through and they're quick meetings, 10
Yeah.
minutes, whatever it is, and just kind of check every department, see where everybody's at, and hold everybody to their standards. And at the end of every day, my team has to, tell me what they did and didn't get done, right? Like
Yep.
we have that conversation, and we kind of, even our office, we hold ourselves to a higher standard, right? I mean, even how we answer the phone is different than everybody else. Like we just try to be better, and that's why we charge more. And like it's like at the end of the day, we're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be the cheapest. I would rather sell 4 systems at 25 grand a piece than 10 systems at 10 grand a piece, right? And
Yeah.
we're still going to get the same revenue, but we're going to get one of them's going to get us way more profit.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor, before we wrap up here, we talked a lot about the blue collar stuff and strategies around that. Like, I've had a lot of insurance agents on the last couple episodes, so like, I know my blue collar guys are like, this is fucking killer. I'm loving it. Let's talk about, because like, I know you're in the software space now. I'm in the software space. Like, what are you guys seeing as far as like a must have tech stack for like scaling these service businesses? Because what I'm seeing, with our AI platform, Alley, like the things that it can do, and because I'm come from blue collar, I'm like, holy shit, this is like there's really game changing technology that's coming down the pipeline. So, and feel free, talk about your platforms. I mean, I'm asking you openly, like, what are things you're using? What are you seeing? Like, what's that must have tech stack for a blue collar guy? Because listen, like, if you think you're going to win in business, man, and still write paper invoices, like, you're in trouble because there's other people coming to take your lunch.
I mean, if you're in the home service space and you're not on Service Titan, you're losing an opportunity. So we every company that we go into, the first thing we do is implement Service Titan, and we put everything in there, right? It does all of our, all of our job costing and everything. Does payroll. All that stuff is going to be done through Service Titan. Obviously, having a proper price book set up. So how we structure our price book, we do it in a certain way to where we just make it so easy for our guys to be able to navigate, right? So like, I went out to this company about 3 months ago. They're a $16 million business in South Carolina, and I went out there and did some consulting with them and going through their business. And I'm like, I went out with one of their sales reps. I just want to see what it looked like in the field, right? And they've been through my training, and they followed the training part right, but it took them 45 minutes to build an estimate. And I said, dude, like your price book's all messed up. They're calling people, they're trying to get pricing. Like they should be able to have that shit in a second, right? Like if
Mm.
if you're still in 2025, you're still leaving estimates, you shouldn't even fucking go. Like you should, like if you have to go, if you have to send them an estimate later, don't even go to the house because I'm already sold the job before you even send them the estimate, right? And
Wow.
that's just a reality, right? So like I believe that you have to have everything in place to be able to make that sale one call close and have everything, like put all this stuff in place. So Service Titan's a must have. Obviously I own a company called RP1, which is an automation software. So we automate everything from the top of the funnel all the way down to rehash and everything kind of in between. So, obviously if you don't have automation built into your business, that's important. Like really speed to lead. So like a lead comes in, like a web form or whatever, it's automatic right away. It's getting responded to. It doesn't matter what time of night. And then we have AI back to it, so we'll actually communicate and actually book into your CRM.
Nope.
So we have the top of funnel, bottom right. A lot of the money lost is in the rehash process because at the end of the day, most of your guys are so busy they're not following up. So we have a follow up. The software follows up behind every single lead, whether it's a repair or a replacement, and it can identify through the business units. But it's going through and selling the jobs. I mean, we're adding an extra 300,000 a month just on rehash and follow up.
Wow.
So
What do
those,
you mean by rehash? Is that the same thing as follow up, or what's that
yeah,
mean?
yeah, rehash. So they are just rehashing unsold estimates.
Okay.
So pretty much, yeah, same thing. So we call it rehashing, but yeah. So rehash has been a big part of our business is automating that whole process on it.
Yeah.
Um, as far as like obviously AI after hours answering services. So I think I can't remember what company we're using. I think it's called Same Day. They've been great. So like we use that for our overflow stuff. So we get make sure the calls are answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a
Yep.
week if we have any overflow. And then also we use things like Rilla where when our guys go in the house, it listens to every single call and it analyzes it where we're messing up. So that's how we can kind of hold our standard in the house.
That's
So
cool.
when I know a guy's having a bad time, we can go back and review his Rilla and say, hey, look, you're skipping this, this, and this. And it even tells me. So We took our process, put it in a Rilla, and then Rilla analyzes it versus that. Like, what did they not, what did they do and what they not do? And they'll give us a report.
That's
So
cool.
if we get a report on it, we can train off that report. So sometimes when we come in, we will go through Rilla training. We'll go, hey, look, these are things that we missed and what we identify is why you're struggling right now, right?
Mm.
So that's been really good for us. Pretty sure there's other softwares that we're using, but those are kind of like the three main things that we want to make sure we have implemented in every location pretty quickly.
Yeah, I love that, man. That's good stuff. Sweet. I mean, you're a hard charging guy, but like, what's Victor do to unwind in the times that he's not building the business or trying to blow up and grow the next thing that's on the roadmap.
Hang out with the kids, man. I live by the beach. I'm 200 yards from the water, so we're down at the
Nice.
beach pretty often. I do a lot of walking on the beach. But obviously the fall's coming up. I got two boys that are in sports, so football coaching and stuff like that's coming up pretty soon. So I mean
Love
that's been my main focus. I have slowed down since you met me last. That's for damn sure.
it.
But what I found out, DJ, is that I want to be the investor. I don't want to be the operator anymore.
Mm,
So the companies, I'm not the main operator of any company anymore. I'm more of the visionary, putting the pieces together, negotiating back end deals, things like that. And I really put people in place to be able to run the companies. Like I found that if you're operating it, you can't really run it. And it's like, that's been nice for me. So like most of my time I spend at my beach house just hanging out, kind of bored to be honest, most of the time. But yeah, I think the big thing for me is really trying to connect with my kids because as you know, you're growing a business in the last 7 years, 7 years since I started my first business. It took everything, it takes all your time, takes everything, and just make sure that you got to get back that time because your kids you're not gonna get an opportunity to raise your kids again. So that's been my
yeah.
my main focus is trying to get more time back with them.
Yeah, I think that's super important, man. I think that's super important. Well, dude, I appreciate you coming on the podcast, dropping so much knowledge, this wealth of information. I know the team's going to have a ton of notes to share out. If somebody's interested in reaching out to you, learning more about some of the stuff that you're working on right now, what's the best way for them to find you?
I think the best way would be going just joining our Facebook group, my Profit Rocket Home Service group.
There you go.
We have a lot of people in there, and it's a sounding board. You can go in there and ask questions, and other contractors, including myself, will go in there and help you answer those questions. And that's kind of how we built that community. And if you're looking for, obviously, our consulting stuff, our business blueprint is probably the most, everybody that sees it, they're blown away by what's in it. I give you everything that we do in our business from all of our freaking documents and everything that we use, our SOPs, all the processes. There's video training, there's training for the entire business from call center all the way to the installers and everything in between.
Wow.
And if you go to callprofitrocket.com, you can actually sign up on a demo, check out what our platform is. It's very, once you see it, you're like, holy crap, I'm about to save 5 years of my life because I give everything. And, obviously you have to actually, everybody laughs at me. They're like, you're just going to give away all your intellectual property. I was like, most people won't implement it. I said,
Yeah.
the more people that I can get to be better at operating, the better the market's going to get. Like, I want people to be able to raise their prices and raise their standards and do all these things. But,
Yeah.
unless they have, because a lot of people don't have, they've never seen the inner workings of these businesses or what they need to put in place. We give you everything. It's like having a franchise in a box, but kind of on steroids and the training on top of that. So, if you go
Yeah.
to callprofitrocket.com, you can check that out. And if you want to learn how to price yourself right, we actually have a pricing calculator on our website too. You can go in there, you can actually see how to price your equipment, so make sure you're not underpricing as well.
That's cool, man. And I think we're gonna do an event with you guys here coming up. I think in a few months. Let's talk about that real quick before we hop off.
Yeah, we have our Profit is Sanity event. So we do these once a year. It's going to be October 9th and 10th. This event's a little bit different than anything else you ever been to. Even, it kind of tallies back to what Judge Graham and them were doing back then, but a little bit more even high level. Every company that comes in, we do a full audit of their business before they get there. We're going to audit your financials, your marketing, or your market. You'll get a little book in there, and right when you get there, it's going to have your logo on it. It's going to tell you everything about that we analyze for your business, where we think you're messing up or where you need to get better at. And then when we're there, we focus on those things, different subjects throughout the business, to where you leave with a roadmap to actually dominate. And the companies that came the last time, most of them want to come back again just because they seen what the impact it's had on their business. So if you want to check that out, you can hit us up. You can, like I said, you can book on our website at callprofitrocket.com or message me directly on Facebook. Just Victor Rancour. But yeah, I think
Very
it's going to
cool,
be a
man.
great event. And we have a big sales training event coming up in November. And we have a new facility we got built out near Columbus, Ohio. That
Okay.
one's I got like 8 of the best sales trainers in the country. They're going to come in. Each one of them is going to get an hour to really just dive into their processes and what they do. And it's just going to be a great opportunity for you to pick up all those little things that you can go implement right away.
Love it, man. Love it, dude. Victor, thanks for being on, man. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure you smash the comment, the like, the share button. You guys know what to do. It helps us get in front of more people so we can help them grow their business. Until next time, I'm Coach Carroll. Hustle, it's worth it. This is the Sales Factory.